everyone, welcome to Singapore FinTech Festival, Shenzhen City Channel. Today we'll talk a little bit about powering the cross-border digital trade platform for China and Singapore SMEs. So first I'll start with a bit of an introduction of OneConnect. As you can see, OneConnect has grown quite a bit over the last 5 years. We're a company of 5 years, New York listed in New York Stock Exchange. We started in China and cover about 600 banks in China, which is about more than 50% market share. We're a FinTech arm of the China Ping An Group. And overseas, we have expanded to 15 countries, over 50 clients. A couple of countries worth mentioning is maybe about Thailand. We're serving top 3 financial institution clients. Same thing for Malaysia, serving top 3 of the top 10 financial institutions. And then in Philippines, we built the nation's first multi-lender SME platform with Union Bank's FinTech subsidiary UBX. And today we'll talk a little bit about Singapore. Before I deep dive into our cross-border connection between Singapore and China SMEs, I first want to go through with you the high-level solutions that we have. And it makes, you will see that some of these solutions are actually deployed in the platform that I will discuss later on. The first pillar is digital identity. So that's where all the KYC, facial recognition, card authentication, OCR, voice print, etc. And then the second pillar is all the lending solutions, all the unsecured lending solutions whereby we use anti-fraud, micro-expression, OCR for bank statements, etc. in order to do unsecured lending fully digitally. And then the third pillar is digital banking in a box, whereby we included the cloud-based core banking software that allows the setup of the full digital bank, greenfield digital banks from scratch. And then the last pillar, which will happen mostly in 2021, is our InsurTech set of solutions. And I hope that in the future we'll have a chance to talk more about the InsurTech solutions, but today I'll focus on the banking solutions. First, let's take a look at the SMEs, right? So if you can see, here's what I call the $1 trillion financing gap of SMEs. And I think it's actually more than $1 trillion financing gap. If you look at China's SME, more than 90% of the population, of the enterprises are SMEs. The same thing for ASEAN. The trend is consistent across all countries. And then GDP contribution is consistently above 50%. In Singapore's case, it's even 80% of GDP. And for the financing gap, you can see that just ASEAN is 300 billion. So I would estimate that plus China adds up to totally more than $1 trillion. Here's a typical SME financing platform that OneConnect has built. I thought this helps you understand what exactly is the ecosystem that we're building for SMEs. You can see that it's actually quite a lot of massive effort through economies of scale to address this gap. A $1 trillion financing gap is not easy to harness. The banks are selective about their clients. SMEs have a greater or higher level of risk compared to the larger corporate clients. And therefore, with economies of scale on a platform, you are able to then address this gap. So you see on the left-hand side, we connect financial institutions together with the government data sources, the government programs for SMEs. Then, of course, you need to have all the SMEs on a platform. And the engine actually matches financial institution products with the SMEs, giving the SMEs a profile and through analytics as well as a risk profile. And then at the bottom layer, you see our digital lending platform. That's our OneConnect's digital lending engine, whereby then on a platform with economies of scale, they are able to leverage on the same technology for all the SMEs in a particular country. And this particular platform we've implemented in China, we're now implementing in Singapore. And you see this is one example of what we have implemented for Guangdong SME platform. This is the first blockchain SME financing platform in China. And then we've connected 11 million SMEs in China at the provincial level. It's the first platform in China to actually conduct risk assessment at the provincial level. And then you also see that in China, we've built several platforms that Shenzhen, Jiangxi, and Guangxi, and Henan. And when we first started evaluating if we can build a similar platform in Singapore, it was hard because Singapore has 24,000 SMEs compared to 43 million SMEs in China. And for such a small country, that's really hard to have economies of scale for this to make sense. What we found out in a pleasant surprise is that the moment we look outside of Singapore, from a regional perspective, we saw an unaddressed need for each other. This is an unaddressed need between the giant and the tiny, right? And surprisingly, when we interviewed more than about 2,000 SMEs in China, there are some statistics that caught us a little by surprise. So you see the highlighted one on the left-hand side, 56% of the interviewees actually believe that Singapore products are of high quality. Singapore has a reputation of having good quality products. And then 34% believe that our suppliers are highly trusted. And 34% believe also that our products are reasonably priced. So what are they looking for, given that China is that big and you can find literally everything in China? There are a couple of areas that is of particular interest. F&B area, so you'll see the statistics on the right-hand side. First of all, 44% intends to use an online B2B platform for purchases that's overseas. And then a good 76% actually would like to consider buying F&B products or industrial equipments from Singapore. And you'll find that these two areas are where certain certifications, trusted certifications or experience are required, and where product quality is super important. And of course, 69% intends to purchase in the next 12 months, and I think this has to do with the anticipated COVID recovery. So this is an overview of the platform that we built for Singapore. We call it One SME. And One SME has 5 modules: the shop module, expand module, a finance module, digitize, and learn module. And then that forms one, and we connected it to 2 platforms in China that's built by OneConnect. One is Yiqiye in Shenzhen, and the other is our Guangxi Pingtai. So there are 2 platforms there, and we have more than 4 million SMEs from China connecting to Singapore. It is important to find the right audience on the Singapore side to address what came out of the survey. And in that survey, if you recall, F&B as well as industrial equipments are what the Chinese SMEs are looking for from Singapore. So we connected with a couple of partners to address this particular need. So finding the right partners is super important. Although the platform is an open ecosystem platform, it is important that you find the right ecosystem partners to address the right needs. So on the SME platforms, we brought in Easy and Bizman, and they cover exactly the areas that we want to start off, which is SMB as well as industrial equipment. And then having IMDA as the authority on the platform, as well as IPOS, allows us to have the government agencies to certify the business registrations or certifications, which is also very important. Then the associations bring in participation, as well as trade-related data from guests. There are a few components we focused on when we built the platform. The first one is trust. And I think it's important that SMEs are trying to do business across border without seeing each other during the COVID situation. You can't fly, and therefore having a level of trust is important. You would have recalled that KYC is one of our product capabilities, and we built in 3 levels of KYC on the platform to ensure that you can find trusted partners on the platform. The first one is verifying the company's registration. Then, of course, Bizman as well as Easy gives us a lot of product reviews to make sure that these products are already traded on their platform and have good reviews for their quality. Certification from IPOS as well as some of our government agencies are also very important to make sure that these companies are registered, licensed, and certified. The second capability that we put onto the platform is really enhancing the relevance on a continuous basis, because what came out of a survey is our initial understanding of what SMEs are looking for. And on a continuous basis, you need to understand the behavior of the portal usage so that you're able to continuously enhance the relevance and attractiveness of the platform. And more importantly, on top of not so much the attractiveness, but most important is that you have what the SMEs are looking for on the platform. So this is not an e-commerce end user platform. This is a 2B platform, and SMEs will come in there to look for products that their own domestic country cannot provide, or they have a preference for certain quality or certain ASEAN understanding for the products to be serviced outside of from Singapore. And then, of course, as a technology company, we put in a lot of technology to make sure that the system is easy to use and is less manual. I think this is very important in the digital world. So like bank statement, OCR, to be able to put in certain documents so that we have less manual processing time and then a faster turnaround time. And then of course, business profile of SMEs from one country to the other shouldn't be double entered. A single login with their profiles being able to pre-populate across 2 platforms, I think is also super important. And then lastly, once the marketplace have some sales history, and we also have trading data between the 2 countries, we'll be able to do pre-qualification of SMEs for loans. And you'll find that earlier I didn't mention UOB is our first financing partner on the platform, so that in the midst of trading and expansion of business overseas, you can also apply financing at the same time on the platform. So last is a quick summary of what we have built for One SME that allows this cross-border trade. A few key takeaways to summarize. First one is, of course, the $1 trillion financing opportunity between ASEAN and China. And then at the same time, a lot of SMEs are seeing that they need to do things differently post-COVID. And with COVID recovery, more than 60% of the SMEs would view technology adoption, geographic expansion, product or services expansion as the most important priority during the recovery stage. Trust and relevant value proposition is important. Take note that I said relevant instead of a full suite of value propositions. Sometimes on a digital platform, you want to build as much as possible, and that may not be the right thing to do in order to beef up the volume on the platform. And I think building trust and having a relevant value proposition is super important for the SMEs to start trading. The right ecosystem is a first step to a collaborative success. I think it's hard to get the right players together. You may have players that would like to join, and if you have a whole bunch of players that doesn't give you a focused value proposition, then that's also a lot of work without creating that focus in the value proposition. So I think finding the right ecosystem is the very first step. And for us, having IMDA as the sponsor, having IPOS behind us, has helped us a lot in finding the right players in Singapore to build that first collaborative step. And then lastly, build, fine-tune, build, fine-tune. I think a lot of, to manage stakeholders' expectations, ecosystem is a big word. Platform-based economies of scale is not something you can rip from day one. It's a multi-year journey to really revise the value proposition and have volume built up over time. So don't expect immediate ROI. It's a multi-year journey, and we are at the start of that multi-year journey. All right, thank you so much.